The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
I'm horror author T. Fox Dunham.
And I'm horror author and filmmaker Phil Thomas.
And tonight we're asking you,
what are you afraid of?
And we're back.
We are.
How you doing, Fox?
Oh, Phil, I can't believe a week's gone by since I last saw you.
I know. It really went quick.
It did. It felt like it was like we had one conversation through the whole week.
It felt like about 5 minutes.
It really did.
But it was, it was a whole week.
It was like a tesseract, a bend in time. Let's keep doing those till Halloween.
Oh, yes.
Or Halloween month.
Oh, yeah, October.
October. Yeah.
Well, this is episode 38, Haunted Neurotic.
That's me. Yeah. I'm a haunted neurotic.
Haunted neurotic. Yeah.
I am proud of it.
Me too.
I know. Tell me about it.
I'm a neurotic too. Hey, why not?
We call it Haunted Neurotic because we have part 2 of Hannah Neurotica's interview, her profile part.
That is a great name.
Yeah.
I just love that name. Hannah Neurotica.
Right.
When first time I heard that, I was just like, wow, that's a name.
And there's something we'll learn in the interview tonight, is that she's been battling with mental illness most of her life. Mm. She said she was bipolar.
Right.
And I think her name de plume reflects that a little bit.
Right.
And you sort of adopt your battle, your struggle as your flag.
Mm. Right.
When I was going through radiation and the fox became my totem spirit, Fox became my name.
Right.
People started calling me Fox more.
Right. And I call you Fox all the time.
Everyone does now.
Everyone calls you Fox. I just gave you some Fox tea.
Yep, I love the Fox tea. I really do.
I gave him a box of tea with a big fox on it. It's herbal tea. I know you like tea, so.
Right. But great show, episode 38, Haunted Neurotic.
Yeah.
We've got some poetry sent in by the significant other of David Walton, our British folk singer. Her name is Mary Luce Nuys. She sent us The House and Dating Mr. D, some great poetry. We also have the interview with Hannah. We have part 2 of the Lizzie Borden True Ghost Story sent to us by Lisa Minetti. And Perpetual Motion Machine Publishing has come through again and sent us a remarkable short story from George Catronis called Dead Things, read by our British folk singer David Walton. And that'll all be on the show.
We had a great show today.
It is a cool show. Without further ado, we will jump to part 2 of the Lizzie Borden series, all true, sent to us by Lisa Minetti. This one recorded by David Walton on What Are You Afraid Of? Horror and Paranormal Show on Para X Radio, Friday nights at 9 p.m. and available from all major podcast services.
Your source for everything paranormal. Para X.
The Haunted Lizzie Borden House. True Ghost Stories. Written and submitted by Lisa Minetti and read by David Walton. Haunted there, followed home. By my 4th visit to the house in 2004, I was desperate to get into the cellar, which is not shown during daytime tours. I felt certain that because that dark, stony retreat was the scene of Lizzie's late-night and secretive hiding of bloody bird's-eye linen sanitary napkins, used at that time and soaked in wash tubs before laundering, along with the broken-off axe head that someone had rolled in ashes to imitate the other dusty hatchets stashed in a box concealed just beneath the ceiling joists. the century-old psychic residue of her anxiety and guilt would result in plenty of paranormal manifestations. So, I shanghaied a dozen or so horror writers who attended Nikon that year to rent the house, stay overnight, and thereby give us access to that creepy basement. And sure enough, while everyone was down there, as if on cue, the lights flickered and hissed, while the guide showed us the places where blood was detected a century later using that forensic darling, luminol. All of us felt ill at ease. The more intuitive saw darting black human shadows, saw the front door swing open, felt cold spots, reported seeing and feeling the oily brushing by of a cat in that narrow house, where no cats lived at that time. The photographs taken that Sunday night show eerie mist. A woman's face staring at the birthday cake we brought along for Lizzie's big day. Red blood drops on the mantel in the sitting room where Andrew was murdered. A very eerie white ectoplasm in the shape of a skull that actually formed on the sofa and, oddest of all, seemed to have a hash mark cleaving it exactly like the axe wound that decimated Borden's head, face and eye. A short while later, we discovered that a dressmaker's dummy, wearing one of Lizzie's outfits, had moved across the floor in the room that had been Emma Borden's at the time of the murder. The girl who was supposed to stay there was so nervous, another writer wheeled the mannequin out into the very small hallway, pushed it into a corner declaring, "Now you stay there." Except it didn't. Sometime around 4 a.m, 3 of us heard it creaking on its metal wheels, slowly turning and creeping towards Lizzie's bedroom, where we were vainly trying to sleep. No one had the nerve to get up and check, but when we opened the door at daylight, the dressmaker's dummy was now in the middle of the landing and turned to face the room we'd slept in. As the guide had explained, things often go missing in the Borden's old home. What she didn't mention was that sometimes those things attach themselves to those who visit the house. The first time it happened to me, horror writer, psychic Sapphira Giron and I had decided to hold a séance using 4 postage stamp-sized bits of brick from the cellar. Our intent was to place them on each of the 4 corners of the antique Ouija board that's in the sitting room. However, just before we were planning to start the séance, we'd sat on opposite sides of the murder room, drawing tarot cards, each of us using her own deck as one of the group members asked a question. According to the others, we were actually drawing the same cards at the same time in response, and it happened over and over. With 78 cards in a standard tarot deck, the odds of a mere coincidence staggered us both. We not only decided the séance was a no-go, we decided we were too goddamn scared to put the tiny pieces of brick back in the cellar. So I placed them in a line neatly on a bookcase close to where the Ouija board resides. Now, you need to understand I'm a smoker. Translate that to mean that whither I goest, so does my handbag to carry around my cigarettes. That leather sidekick never left my shoulder or my side the entire evening. You can therefore imagine my shock when I returned home and discovered one of those tiny pieces of brick wedged at the bottom of the zippered section inside my purse. And further, when I sat down to work at my computer in my second-floor office, I heard someone shouting, "Lisa! Lisa!" I thought it was a neighbour. "Be right down," I called back. but there was no one at the front or back door, no one in the driveway or on the lawn. No one. In the meantime, the nubbin of brick had taken on a very nasty, warmish feel. I actually felt oppressed until I put it outside in the back garden furthest from the house. Others have also been followed by spirits or entities, and on one of our most recent visits, I was in my office chatting on Messenger with Beth Blue and Corinne de Winter, two other Lizzie Borden habitués and writers, and comparing our photos for anomalies, when suddenly a book about death flew off my shelf and landed across the room. Corinne had given it to me as a gift, its title, Final Exits. I never expected to receive it a second time as a different kind of gift from Lizzie. I had to smudge and cleanse the house with sage after that little dust-up. Some things, like the location of the gift shop built where the Borden carriage house used to stand, have changed over the years. The now dark green front door of the house on 2nd Street is wide and imposing, but it will not stay closed. Unless a human hand fastens the brass lock, it swings open. A spirit is the house's true keeper, inviting some of us in, following some of us home.
The House, a poem by Marie-Louise Nihus, read by the author. You gave me this house, the wooden skin bleached from warm long days of summer, stained from cold long nights of winter, rough and splintered by the drumming rain, grey from listening to the wind, soaked and dried 1,000 times, the reed like hair softening the impact of nature's messengers. A double-winged door with ornaments inviting to an insight sublime, empty. A cathedral, a womb, a cave. Or, will Lenore be here soon? Is there a telltale heart somewhere beneath the wooden floor waiting for the pendulum to swing back? You gave me this house, without windows.
Your source for everything paranormal, Para X.
Are you haunted by shadow people in the middle of the night?
Do you secretly love all things creepy and spooky, enjoying ghost stories and horror fiction from the best storytellers?
Do you have a true ghost experience you want to share, but no one will believe you?
If yes, listen to the professionals on What Are You Afraid of? Horror Paranormal Show Friday nights at 9 p.m. on Para X Radio and at www.whatareyouafraidofpodcast.com.
What Are You Afraid of on Para X?
Our creepy and demented hosts are on call to provide you with all your spooky needs with true ghost stories, interviews, indie music, and new horror fiction. We are ready to scare you.
Para X.
Lizzie Borden. You know, they say she didn't have a drop of blood on her after she supposedly hacked her parents into pieces.
Right.
And no one could understand why, and that's why she got off.
Yeah.
But modern theory has it that all she did was get naked first.
That's true.
That's the thinking, is she just took off her clothes, went and hacked her parents to bits, washed off and got dressed.
You know, that's perfect crime right there.
Right.
Yeah. Get naked, hack your parents up, take a shower, and get redressed.
Is that the plot of your next film?
Yes, it is. Yes.
You just had a film come out.
The Naked Hacker.
The Naked Hacker. Episode 39, The Naked Hacker. Don't ask us how we're filming it. Be glad this is an audio show. But again, you just made a movie.
Yes,
another movie.
Yes, I did.
And that was called
The Following Man.
The Following.
Yes.
Now, you want to tell us a little bit about the plot?
About a man he's leaving a bar one night. He goes to get in his car, drive away, and realizes his car's missing.
So after he's a little flustered, he decides to pull out his phone, make a call. Then he realizes his phone is also dead, and he realizes he has to walk home. So as he's walking home, he notices this figure shrouded in darkness that keeps looking at him from different areas. As he's walking home, he turns around and realizes this person is following him, but he never sees him walking. This person is always standing closer to him, but never walking. As he gets to his home and he approaches his front door, the person is still giving chase, but never walking, just constantly moving closer every time he turns around.
So creepy.
It's very creepy. It was shot completely at night. It takes place, in around the Christmas holidays.
Right.
We shot it in a little downtown section of Ambler, where there was a lot of Christmas decorations up, and we did it on purpose. It was something we wanted to do just to add production value. And I think it came out really well. And the music was done by Rick Desnian, and he's an incredible musician and
Gotta
artist.
get some for the show.
Yeah,
To play some.
He's great, and he composed the musical piece for it, and he also did recording for it as well. As far as the actual on the set goes, we had him there doing that, and it's an incredible piece of music, and we're going to be playing some of it, and it sounds similar to at least to me, the Exorcist theme.
Oh, I know you like that. The tubular bells at Christmas time.
Tubular bells, exactly.
Yeah. You can find that movie, The Following Man, up on our website at www.whatareyouafraidofpodcast.com. We have an indie film section. Just click on that and you'll find it.
That's right. Yeah, please
leave
check
a
it
comment.
Out. Please check it out. It's short and sweet.
Send some.
Well, not how sweet, but it's short.
Right.
About 4.5 minutes.
And you're starting a new one soon.
Yeah, it's called Doppelganger. We're going to be shooting that March 5th.
Yeah. March 5th. In Ambler again?
No, we're actually going to shoot this in, I believe, Jenkintown.
Oh, in Jenkintown?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe Jenkintown we're going to shoot that. It's about a father and a son, and this kid claims that there's something under his bed. And when the father checks, you'll have to wait and see.
Definitely. Well, that sounds exciting.
Yeah.
That sounds exciting.
I think it is. I think it'll come out well.
So we're going to go to our profile interview, part 2, with Hannah Neurotica, founder of Women in Horror Month, which technically February is over, but the segment is not. We will be interviewing lots of women in horror.
Yeah, we're going to keep it going.
Right.
Yeah.
Without further ado, Hannah Neurotica's interview on What Are You Afraid Of? Horror and Paranormal Show on ParaX Radio.
We've all experienced messages from beyond the silver veil, whether we want to admit it or not. Some people take no notice, ignoring these outreaches. Others embrace them, seeing them as evidence of an expanded universe. Whether these stories frighten or comfort, we are reassured.
The mission of What Are You Afraid Of? Horror and Paranormal Show is to explore the dark side through paranormal investigation, folklore, and the arts. The show is an audio magazine. We share true ghost stories, dark fiction, interviews with ghost hunters and indie authors, filmmakers, artists, and musicians. We discuss industry issues and offer support. We have a unique and varied theme that creates a show unlike others.
Our weekly show is featured on all major podcast services, including iHeartRadio, iTunes, and YouTube. We are a part of ParaX Radio.
We need your true ghost experiences. So write them down in an email, preferably under 2,000 words, which comes to about 3 or 4 typed pages, and send them to whatareyouafraidof117@gmail.com. Please don't attach them as a file. And don't worry about trying to write like Charles Dickens. Just tell us your story as if you were telling a friend. And if you're not sure if it's actually a ghost story or not, but it's still weird, send it anyway. Also send us your photos, EVPs, recipes, your thoughts, and any artwork.
Check out our website at www.whatareyouafraidofpodcast.com for our ghost story archives, articles, photos, and expanded material. And you can buy t-shirts, mugs, laptop covers, and animals apparently with our logo on it. Follow us at Twitter at PFWhatAfraidOf. That's PFWhatAfraidOf.
You cannot escape the darkness, so explore it with us now at
What Are You Afraid Of?
So let's talk about your screenwriting. Because we want to get to know you, not just your work. We want to get to know what inspires you, what motivates you, and what you create. So, when did you decide in your life you wanted to do this?
I guess when you say this, I'm the kind of person where I don't really have a this. It's just a big collage of stuff that I've never been able to categorize. But I'm bipolar. I have ADD. And I always have ideas. And sometimes I can have an idea that I stick with, and sometimes, most times, I don't, and I just keep moving from idea to idea. So that goes to sort of the things that inspire me and what I do. So I might write an article, and then the next day do video art, and the next day organize a political event highlighting other people's art. And then I might go on a research binge where I want to know everything about some random thing, and then that will inspire a short story or a short film, which I have a short film that I'm just finished writing that I'm shooting this summer. I don't know. I think being somebody who struggles with anxiety and mental illness, I'm very much driven by that in a way. There's just this need I have to do things and that are important to me that I can't not do. And it's, the weirdest things could inspire me to write something. It could be a sentence I hear or, just like anyone else, I guess. It's not something I've ever been asked before, so.
Oh, good. Well, you heard it first on the show. What Are You Afraid of podcast and our paranormal show at www.whatareyouafraidofpodcast.com. Sorry, we got to get that in whenever we can.
Of course. I feel like I'm not answering your question.
Oh, you are answering it beautifully.
Okay.
Because you don't know. And that's wonderful, because that's the journey.
And the journey, I think that's the best way to put it, because I don't know nobody really knows, but, right now I feel I'm at a place in my life where, I would like to write a book and make a feature. And that's where sort of my energy is going to go right now. But then there's also, it's hard because then there's this part of me that's an organizer and an activist. And it's like, how do you balance making your own art but supporting other people's art and not letting your time to create disappear? So I definitely struggle balancing not giving myself enough,
right.
I think.
Right.
I spend so much, and I'm not complaining. I mean, I love promoting people and doing this, but I think I definitely need to learn a little bit more, which I'm starting to, about giving myself time for my own work. So this year, that's kind of something I'm trying hard to, to find that balance, because it's important.
We're kindred spirits. We really are, because I completely understand that.
It's a thing to understand.
It sounds like to me that the people like yourself who create the most are the ones who are trying to complete themselves the most.
Well, I certainly can see what you're saying, trying to reach at something.
Mm-hmm. So, you've had a battle with mental illness all your life, I imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And has that contributed to your horror?
My love of horror started young from my dad, who actually passed away right before the first ever Women in Horror Month happened. And he was the person that just, exposed me to it, and I would always talk about it on a deeper level with. And so that is where that came from. Always had anxiety, but my bipolar and diagnosis and psychiatric visits and all that certainly play a role in the aspect of horror in which I like to dissect it, so to speak, and look at it from a almost academic way, and interpreting films about humans and our bodies and our brains through the lens of horror. I feel I think so. I think through the lens of horror allows us to explore these parts of ourselves that in ways that you can't really in other genres, because you can manifest them as monsters and spirits and demons, and there's a lot that you can do therapeutically with horror.
It almost sounds like you're talking about the shadow self.
Yes, very much so, I think. I definitely think so. And not just the shadow self, but also the shadow culture, if that's a term.
Well, I imagine there are and millions of shadow selves, there's going to be a shadow culture out there.
Yeah.
Well, could you tell us some of the early horror films and books, or any books or films that were inspirational to you that you draw from?
Yeah. I always have trouble with this because every time I answer, and then I'm done, I'm like, oh, I can't believe I didn't say such and such a film. Book-wise, one of my favorite books is Geek Love by Catherine Dunn. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
I'm not, but I am now.
It is absolutely fantastic book. It's a pity that it never got made into a film. It's considered unfilmable, which we all know means it will make a great film one day. But it's stuck on a shelf because all these filmmakers like Tim Burton and everyone just kind of gave up on it. But the point is, it's great. You should read it. And it's the premise, without giving anything away, is this family. They want to be a freak show, but they create their own freaks by poisoning their pregnancies and travel on the road. And it's sort of a family story, a dark family story.
Well, I think you just explained my lineage. So.
All right, well, then you should read it.
I shall.
Because Geek Love, people hear the title, geek is somebody, that bites the head
off chickens, right.
Yeah. So that book I've always loved. But, I'm just like a lot of people my age. I was exposed to, Texas Chainsaw Massacre and all those great 80s staples. So that's sort of what shaped me, I think, like pretty much everyone else probably that's my age. And that just kind of stays with you, I think, as you get older, is like the golden age of horror for us.
It really was. And then we had that golden age of slasher films and low special effects.
Mm-hmm.
And then the major companies kind of found horror as a moneymaker. And then we hit the Japanese inspiration horror, like The Ring.
Yep, and, I think 9/11, there was a big role there.
Right. Explain that a little more.
I had the privilege of taking a course at Hunter with Isabel Pinedo, and she's the writer of Recreational Terror, Women and the Pleasures of Horror Film Viewing. Highly recommended book. She knew about me because I had contacted her to praise her book. And she said she's teaching this course about film and art post 9/11, and was I interested? And of course, I wanted to take any class I could with her. And so I ended up doing my project in that course on horror films and post 9/11, and it's an incredibly interesting topic because, that's where when the term torture porn veered its head, and when Hostel came out, and when there was this concept of it wasn't so much like the 80s films where it was city versus country. It was more like country versus country, and culture versus culture, and torture, and all these things that were in part of our news cycles and life. And so anytime you look at a horror film, you can really see if you look deep enough, you can really see what was happening in the world, in that culture when that film was made a lot of the time, because of how those things are played out as our shadow culture.
I like to think of George Romero as one of the
example.
The observer of culture, like Dawn of the Dead, when they were in the mall and they were the zombies shopping and the commercialism. And so
exactly.
I really appreciate what you're saying.
Zombie movies had to do with the war and, nuclear things, and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and the gas shortages, and there's just things that when we run out of gas, there's just these little things that pop up that that's something I love, and that's something I truly love is nitpicking horror films from this socio-cultural, psychoanalytical, gender-based place.
Indeed, that's fascinating, and you've certainly stimulated a lot of my thinking. What is your process of writing like? Like, what is your day-to-day writing paradigm like?
So one of the things, to go back to the whole bipolar thing, is when I don't, obviously know anything about you personally, but if you or someone that struggles with depression, it's very hard to function, and that means writing and even getting out of bed. And so there's a lot of times when I will go without doing it because it's just, I can't do it. And then there's times where I'll have an almost manic-y kind of thing where I will everything will need to come out. And I'm now in a place where I'm able, again, it seems to be this pattern of balance, or theme rather, but my process is really hard to nail down because it's so much of a burst that can happen at any time. And I'm not good at disciplining myself to sit every day at 10 o'clock, and write, which is something I should. And especially as I'm working on this book, I should. Right now, it's been very much dictated by my mental health. So, I'm being very personal right now, which is totally cool.
We're glad.
But one of the things I'm working on, with regards to my mental health is making time for myself and pushing through these obstacles, because writing is something that I feel that I am good at and that I enjoy, but it's certainly a very difficult art form when you are in a fog. And so it's sort of this balance right now. But I feel at this moment very optimistic that I will be able to pick up my writing pace, because I've recently been doing so and it's been going well. So knock on wood.
So you're a solar flare. You're a solar burst.
Yeah, I guess so. I think so. I don't know how else to put it. Because you know what? Like, I could be sitting down to do some writing and then 2 seconds later say, I got to write this poem. And then I'm going to go write this poem. And then I'm going to say, oh, I really want to go paint something right now. And it's like, then either everything won't be finished, and I'll just have this big mess of half-started things. Or, sometimes I'll be lucky and I'll get to actually push myself to finish something. But I'm definitely somebody who can scatter easily and needs to be reeled in.
One final question, something I ask all our guests, and we've had quite an assortment of characters on the show. Is there an afterlife, and what is it?
Oh, man.
Yeah, I threw you a wrench there.
So, to be honest, if you had asked me that question before my dad died, I might give you a different answer. But after I lost my dad, I had a very hard time believing in like, okay, because everyone's always like, I believe in ghosts, or, oh, I saw this ghost. And it's sort of like, I had this anger about it for a while. It was like, well, I don't believe in any of that stuff because I haven't seen my dad. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it was like this, well, how could that be true? And now it's sort of, I think I'm more of a reincarnation, but more believe in sort of that our souls or our energies echo in some form, but I don't know that that's human. However, if you really want to know my answer, I think we die. We're either ash, we go in the ground, we help fertilize, and the people that we inspire along the way, or our family, that's our ghost. And anything else I see is almost just like an echo of us.
That's very comforting. It really is. And I don't know, maybe your dad has communicated with you in a way you've not recognized yet. I hear that from a lot of people. They'll not see something, but they'll remember it. And a few years later, they'll look back and go, oh, I think that may have been my dad, sending some sort of little message to me. And who knows, we can't read nature.
Right.
We can't read a lot of what's happening around us, and it takes time and wisdom to understand it. And who knows, the dead might be communicating with us all the time in the form of thunder and flowers and sound.
Absolutely.
Yes, and inspiration. So,
well, I definitely know that it's not because he doesn't want to. That I know. So there's got to be a reason. It's somewhere.
That's wonderful to hear.
Well, I got to tell you one thing before you let me go.
Absolutely.
I have not responded to a podcast interview in a very long time because of my mental health and my anxiety. And this is the first one that I've done in a couple years, minus maybe being on one quick radio show to promote something. And so this wasn't easy, and I feel really great that I did it, and you made me feel like comfortable, and I'm really, really grateful.
Well, you rock. That's amazing. That's wonderful. And we're so glad we could be part of your journey.
Thank you, me too.
We are speaking with Hannah Neurotica on What Are You Afraid Of? Horror and Paranormal Show on Para X on Friday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and also available for direct download from all major podcast services, including Libsyn, iTunes, and iHeartRadio. Thank you so much for being with us, Hannah.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Mercy, a new horror medical thriller from author T. Fox Dunham, published by Bloodbound Books. Based on the author's horrific battle with a rare form of lymphoma that involved intense chemotherapy and radiation, Fox turns the horror of his experience into terror on the page.
William Saint is dying of cancer. On most days, death seems like a humane alternative to the treatment. Stricken with fever, William is rushed to Mercy, notorious as a place to send the sickest of the poor and uninsured to be forgotten, and finds the hospital in even worse condition than his previous visit.
Willie's memories faded. He grabbed his the sack head of the scarecrow, picking at the exposed chicken wire to hold them in. However, the memories fell out of the holes in his face. They wormed and crawled from the leather flesh from the old clothing of the scarecrow, then squirmed and wiggled down his body.
The grounds are unkempt, the foundation is cracking, and like the wild mushrooms sprouting from the fissures of decay around it, something is growing inside the hospital. Something dark.
Fangoria gives Mercy 3.5 out of 4 skulls. Dunham has channeled his many brushes with the other side into the exquisitely rendered, lyrical, supernatural hospital thriller Mercy.
It's feeding on the sickness and sustaining itself on the staff, changing them, and now it wants Willie.
Come now, Mr. Saint. Just a little more of that sweet milk. So salty and so good. You won't miss it. And we ever do so like our delicacies here at Mercy Hospital.
Part medical horror, part supernatural suspense, Mercy is a hard-hitting fever dream of a novel. I enjoyed the hell out of it. Tim Wagner, author of The Way of All Flesh and Eat the Night. Available from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and bookstores everywhere in both print and digital versions.
Life is an addiction.
Let go. Let it all burn.
I'm Jenna Valadez with The Basement Files. Tune in Friday nights, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Para-X Radio Network.
Your source for everything paranormal, Para-X.
Dating Mr. D, a poem by Marie-Louise Niehues, read by the author. I am the lover you're not looking for. When you get up in the morning, I'm already there, watching you brush your teeth, comb your hair. Naked in front of the mirror you stand, critically dress up and pretend to be young. You cover your face with color and care, rub in the cream. You cannot rub me out. And I smile at you. You don't see me, no doubt. I am the lover you're not looking for. I am the lover you're not looking for. When you walk through the streets, I'm already there. The tortoise am I, watching the hare. Bare grounds are left where you put your feet. Boastfully you don't ask what's the course. This trade of planes and plans is not fair. We have our agendas, but I can wait. While like your shadow, I'm walking in your shade. I am the lover you're not looking for. I am the lover you're not looking for. When you go to bed at night, I'm already there, watching you comb your teeth, brush your hair. Stripped down in front of the mirror you stand, skinny, dreams of times when you were young. You cover your face, hands filled with fear. An offer you cannot refuse is my kiss. I'm your last date ever, impossible to miss, the only lover you're not looking for.
Hannah Neurotica.
Hannah Neurotica.
And what's so lovely about her is that she said that she hasn't done an interview like this in a long time. So we have an exclusive.
We have an exclusive. That's exciting.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's really, because we build up this archive of wisdom and experience, plus ghost stories and horror stories.
Yeah, and it seemed like you two really enjoyed the interview.
Just wish we had more time.
Yeah.
We run a tight ship, Captain Phil and Captain Fox.
That's right. There's never enough time, but
never,
we try.
Right.
We just run out of time quickly, but we try to keep the ball rolling, but
Speaking of which, Katie Jordan will be coming back on the show. Katie Montana Jordan, our cult specialist,
that's right.
Paranormal expert.
Yes, Katie.
And she helped us with the Ghostbusters promo that we just added.
Yeah, I love that.
Okay. John Foster, author of Mr. White, is exploring some haunted sites in New York City for us and looking into doing a segment for us. And we've got a magician who wants to come back on the show. Nice. So we got a lot of content.
We got a lot of stuff coming up.
We really do. And some more ghost stories. And guess who I talked to this morning? Debbie Chestnut.
Oh, did you?
And she's sending us some ghost stories, and she wants to come back on the show in April.
Great.
Isn't Debbie great?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah. Hey, we got a lot of exciting things coming up.
Oh, we got T-shirts for sale.
Yes, we got T-shirts.
TeePublic. Go over to TeePublic and check out we'll be adding more designs. Our cool T-shirt, What Are You Afraid of T-shirts for sale. And you'll find a link on the website for that. So go over to the website at www.whatareyoufraidofpodcast.com and buy our T-shirts.
Please check it out because I'm telling you right now, the design is amazing. The designs are great.
We've got some more
really
coming.
Neat.
Yeah. And we don't. When all the money goes back into the show.
I know.
Yeah,
we're not getting tons of money off of it. So whatever we get, we put back in.
Yeah, we do. We did paper costs and to expand our content and to get some commercials out there. And yeah, that's kind of what we're doing. We're just here to bring a message.
That's right.
A creepy creep to get your creep on. Get your creep on.
Get your creep on. That's right.
But we have another lovely poem coming from Mary Luce called Dating Mr. D. As we continue to celebrate Women in Horror Month, even though it's March at this point.
Yeah, it's okay.
That's fine. Some talented people we need to get out there, and just people that deserve our attention. Mm-hmm. Just wish we had more than 58 minutes on ParaX Radio on Friday nights at 9 p.m. Well, I hope you have a good week, Phil.
Fox.
And we'll be back as we move on into the 40s.
Yeah.
With plus 50,000 downloads just from...
I was actually going to mention that. We're actually coming up on our 40th episode.
Yeah.
We should do something specific for it. Something special.
Have 40 ghosts on?
Yeah.
40 ghosts baked into a pie.
Ooh, that's nice.
I like that.
40 ghost interviews.
Yeah. Are you going to Shamrock Shake later?
You know what? I think I might.
Oh, Shamrocks are back.
Fox was talking about McDonald's. Now I'm just thinking about Shamrock Shakes and a Big Mac.
By the way, this is how burned out we are from doing these constant shows and interviews since Women in Horror Month. We've been reduced to talking about McDonald's. So I think we better go. I think we better get out of here.
Do you have anything you want to talk about before we leave? Anything you want to promote? Anything?
Yeah, I love the minty taste.
Okay.
I really do. The Shamrock Shake. My wife hates them.
She doesn't like them?
But I love the minty taste. And just check out the website at www.whatareyoufraidofpodcast.com and check out Women in Horror Month. And we will see you on our next episode when hopefully we've had a little sleep, had a shave, brought in some new guests, and filled ourselves up with Shamrock Shakes.
That's right. Know what's good with a Shamrock Shake?
What's that?
A little bit of rum.
Oh, you just... Okay, that's it. I'm calling my wife. Well, I'm T. Fox Dunn, and we'll see you next episode.
And I'm Phil Thomas. See you next time.
We end the show with a reading of a short story from George Katronis from Perpetual Motion Machine Publishing's newsletter called Dead Things, read by David Walton.
The worms crawl in, the worms crawl out, they crawl all over your dirty snout, your chest. My name is David Walton. I am a vocal performer for What Are You Afraid Of? Horror and Paranormal show. And I have carried the burden of a terrible secret. I am actually what is offensively called a ghost. For years now I have concealed my ectoplasmic existence from my friends and family, in fear of a common prejudice against ghosts, or what we like to call the disembodied. I have existed frightened of being discovered, unable to do physical acts that the embodied take for granted, such as walking a squirrel, or drinking a glass of vitamin E milk fresh squeezed from a whale. I grew depressed and even considered acts of self-harm or reincarnation, which is suicide for the disembodied. Such movies as Ghostbusters and its sequels drove my feelings of disenfranchisement, and I began looking for help, only to encounter painful exorcisms in the houses I haunted. Then I met two good people, it says here, Fox and Phil, at What Are You Afraid Of? Horror and Paranormal. And they helped me take control of my own life. Now, it is my choice whether I wish to make phantom bounds in the night, appear at the foot of your bed in darkness, or make your walls bleed. If you are a disembodied person like I am, and you're living a lie, what are you afraid of can help you too. They are on at 9 p.m. on Friday nights at Paranormal Radio, leaving plenty of time for midnight haunting activities, and can be found on all major podcast services. Listen to their paranormal stories, interviews, humorous sketches and horror fiction to know that you are not alone. And if you are a member of the embodied, don't forget, you are only a single heart attack or tumour away from becoming one of us. This is David Walton. See you on the other side. Or as I call it, this side. And that is the end of a perfect day.
Your source for everything paranormal, Para-X.
Dead Things by George Catronis and read by David Walton. I glance at the map, at the black lines drawn on with a marker. Cities connected to each other from one end of the States to the other. I'm the worst tourist. The sign says Des Moines is 10 miles away. The next stop in this horrifying trip that has been going on for months now. In the trunk, there's a wooden box adorned with crosses, wrapped in rosaries and dipped in holy water. It contains a cheap copy of the thing I'm really looking for, the book. I don't know if the crosses actually do anything, but when you have no clue about how to protect yourself from something, you try everything. Like security alarms in houses, where the security guard comes along an hour later to find the happy family hanging from the walls like Christmas decorations. Whenever I open it, I wear gloves. I mumble the Lord's Prayer. I touch it with the edge of my knife, turning the pages like they're radioactive. A cheap photocopy, but still dangerous. The book I'm looking for isn't anything special. It has no title and no cover. It's not ancient, and it wasn't written by crazy monks and bound in human flesh. It's just a paperback novel, mass-produced sometime in the 60s. The rest of the copies aren't the same. It's only that one that's dangerous. I don't know why. This time, it's a family with 4 small children. Only one of them is still alive. The twins were the first, then the older sister a few days later. Now the book will move to its new owner. How many days will it be before someone else takes the book home? The GPS guides me through the silent city, the house at the end of the street. I park a few houses away and wait to see if anyone's still up. But an hour later, everything is still quiet. I'm too late. I curse and walk up to the house. Around back, I peek through the kitchen window. I see a woman's body, a fireplace poker jutting from the back of her head. Everything else in the room seems untouched. The door is unlocked, so I slip inside. The wall behind the woman is painted with her blood. Her eyes seem to be stalking me as I walk around the room, but there's no time for me to be spooked by a dead body. There are other, worse things in this house tonight. The father is in the living room, his throat chewed out. That leaves the little boy. I wonder if I should pray to find him alive or dead. He lost his whole family in the span of a week. He brought the book home and now he's alone. I don't know if he understands what has happened or if he feels responsible. You find a book. You read it to your kid. You give it to your brother. You read a passage aloud at a party. And all of these people, they die. And then they come back. You put them in the ground, in the dirt, and the book makes them want to live again, to see their loved ones once more. Of course, when they see them, they really, really want to bite them, to tear their flesh, to wrap themselves with their insides, to become one with them. In the second floor, the blonde little boy is dead. I don't want to tell you how. I open the bag and I take the crowbar and the gun. The 3 kids are somewhere in here, unless I'm really lucky and the older sister hasn't been buried yet. If soil hasn't touched her, it might just be the twins. In the darkness, I try to make no sound. I know they are somewhere in here, maybe in the attic, maybe in the vents. The dead can fit anywhere. A noise is coming from the closet in the girl's room, and I walk over to it. I decide to take a chance and pull the trigger 3 times, aiming for where the body of a 9-year-old girl might be crouching in the dark. The door opens slowly, and the corpse, a pretty little girl covered in blood, looks at me as if I caught her stealing from the cookie jar. I shoot it twice more in the head, and it falls face down. Her sister is farther back in the closet. "I want to eat your eyes," she says, and licks her lips. She's wearing Mom's lipstick and high heels on her feet that are at least 4 sizes too big. My last bullet takes her in the chest. It's not enough. Crawling along the wall, she starts walking on the ceiling, coming my way. I wait for her to jump on me, and when she tries, the crowbar hits her right on the mouth. Her teeth rattle as they fall to the floor, like candy from a piñata. Her dislocated jaw stops her from biting me, but she tries anyway. I throw her off me, and she lands on the floor. I bring the crowbar down on her head until she stops moving, and there's not much left of her face. I set them on fire and pray over the bodies. I let the house burn around them. In the car, the smell is worse than the one in the house. From the back seat, the corpse says, "Hi, Daddy," and one of its eyes falls out and rolls under the floor. I stroke her hair, which used to be blonde, but is now mostly white and falling out in tufts, and I kiss her cheek. "Hey, kiddo, time for a trip again." I turn the ignition. The dead girl frowns and crosses her arms. She doesn't like trips. I reach under the seat, pick up her eyeball and place it on the dashboard. Let's go. George Cotronis lives in the wilderness of northern Sweden. He makes a living designing book covers. He sometimes writes. His stories have appeared in 13, Big Pulp, Vignettes from the End of the World, and Lost Signals. You can visit him at www.cotronis.com.
Get your creepers.
Keith Fox Dunham lives in Philadelphia with his wife Allison. He's a lymphoma survivor, cancer patient, modern bard and historian. His first book, The Street Martyr, was published by Gutter Book, a major motion picture based on the book is being produced by Throughline Films. Destroying the Tangible Illusion of Reality or Searching for Andy Kaufman, a book about what it's like to be dying of cancer, was recently released from Perpetual Motion Machine Publishing, and Fox has a story in the Stargate anthology, Points of Origin, from MGM and Fandemonium Books. Mercy was recently released by Bloodbound Books. Fox is an active member of the Harvard Association. He's been published in hundreds of short stories and articles, and his motto is Wrecking Civilization, one story at a time.
Phil Thomas resides in the suburbs of Philadelphia and is an author and filmmaker. His screenplays have been produced into feature films such as False Face and Always from Darkness that are available in major retailers such as Best Buy and Target, as well as availability on Netflix and Amazon On Demand.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.